base. My background is prison ministry. I actually wrote a book for teenagers and worked with very high risk juvenile offenders. I did that for about 10 years. So I felt I was pretty equipped to handle high risk behavior, but human trafficking definitely was something that I was not aware of, familiar with, and certainly never expected it to infiltrate our family. So that is how I became involved in this issue. And it has been a complete hellish 4 years, of which I would never wish upon anybody. My purpose moving forward with Childproof America and with our time today is to really help you understand what this issue looks like. I think many of us have probably seen the movie Taken, and we envision something on the other side of the world taking place like this that involves international women and white vans and all that kind of stuff. But I'm here today to let you know that I am the face of this issue. We can all be the face of this issue. This is something that has taken a front row seat as far as the fastest growing criminal enterprise in our country. Domestic human trafficking has surpassed gun and weapon trades. Why is this the case? Why are we seeing such a huge just growth in this space that's so devastating? It's modern day slavery. Here's the reason we are seeing the growth. Because weapons and drugs are consumable products, whereas human trafficking is something that you can profit off of over and over again. And the demand is dictating the supply. So we have a major fuel behind this, which is bringing traffickers approximately $300,000 a year per victim. The risk is low, the profit is high. What do I mean by that? In our country, we do have a lot of great leadership as far as introducing new legislation and coming down difficult and very harsh on buyers and also exploiters. But when it comes to the courtroom, we are not seeing a lot of convictions of traffickers. If we do, it is short sentences because it is so hard to prove all the many levels of criminal activity. Many victims are afraid to come forward and speak out against their trafficker because traffickers control by fear. Our daughter was told her family would be killed. She would be killed if she ever snitched. That level of fear is very effective when it comes to a victim. So while we are doing great things, and President Trump did sign 9 pieces of legislation during his term, we have a lot of work to go, and especially when it comes to prosecutions. So traffickers look at this industry as high profit. And if they do get convicted, they could be sentenced as little as 1 year or even get deferred adjudication. If your daughter was a victim, what would you do? What would you do? And I see a lot of men on here. I see some women on here. I imagine a lot of you are fathers. What would you do if somebody exploited your child? Would you accept deferred adjudication? Would you raise holy heck to get laws changed? Would you want to speak to everybody and anybody you could to provide superior prevention education? That's what we do. Prevention is the key. This is not rocket science. This is actually something that it's so black and white, but if you do not understand the different mythology and strategy traffickers use to exploit your kid, it can go right under your nose just like it did us. We are college sweethearts. We've been married 30 years this year. We don't do drugs. We are both in ministry, my husband and I. And I'm here to tell you, we're not the perfect family at all. But I can also say, if it happens to us, it can happen to anybody. All of our kids go through vulnerable seasons. That vulnerability can be identified through a breakup of a high school crush. It can be something like not making the swim team. It can be something like failing a big exam. Predators are masters at identifying somebody going through a vulnerable season. And guys and ladies, they are absolute masters at perfecting their manipulation of our young kids to fill an emotional need that they have identified as missing. And there it's very step 1 through 6, very, very easy to identify the grooming stages, the behaviors that your kid will present at each stage. It's very textbook stuff. So we need, as a country, all of us, to say, I understand what human trafficking is. I understand that my attitude of never my kid actually sets us up to be vulnerable for exploitation. We need to not be afraid of this issue. We need to be empowered by this issue. A lot of times when I speak, I hear my audience, they say, oh my gosh, I want to like lock up my kid. Like, I feel so afraid I'm gonna, smash every device. That's not the answer. The resolution and the solution is to not be afraid, but it is to get yourself informed and educated, and to make sure that your loved ones and your community are also informed and educated. The stuff that my daughter did and said and the behaviors, it was classic textbook stuff. But my husband and I were like, has she lost her mind? Is she hormonal? Like, we'd never had any behavior issues. This kid was like the easiest kid to raise, but something happened that caused trauma. And that trauma is what put her on a path to complete self-destruction. If you are a parent, if you are a grandparent, you need to understand what trauma is and how that affects a young developing brain. When your child, or if your child is, say, they're sexually assaulted, this is heavy stuff. I believe 1 in 8 females before they graduate from high school will experience a sexual assault. At the time of that assault, that trauma stops the emotional development of that victim. So you can have your child physically growing, but at the point of that trauma is where that emotional development stops. So of course, when my husband and I found out what happened to our daughter, we sent her to we don't send her to a trauma counselor. We send her to our pastor, and we send her to a Christian counselor. And while as a Christian, I believe faith is a huge component to healing and coping. But I also know from doing this now for 4 years that if your child experiences trauma, then that specialist who understands EMDR and understands trauma is who your child is going to need to get that treatment from. It's a very, very specific type of trauma. I want everyone here to remove the stereotype of the white van. I want everyone here to remove whatever stereotype that you think trafficking is international. I want us to come to a place of real, authentic understanding of what a trafficker looks like. It can look like any one of us. It can be female, it can be male, it can be white class, it can be any kind of demographic, guys. Many times traffickers are female. The first trafficker that got my daughter was a woman, and she looked very normal. You pass her on the street, say hello, chat with her. But what I hope we can achieve here today is that you all embrace the real, true look at this issue and remove the stereotypes that you believe a trafficker looks like, that you believe a victim looks like. A victim can be from any demographic background, can be Christian, atheist, come from good families. Traffickers have a heyday in communities where parents are naive. I just moved from Katy, Texas, over the holidays, which is where my daughter was pursued. And it's a beautiful community. We built a house out there 24 years ago. We thought, hey, like this is where to take our family and raise our family. We've got top 7% school district out here. We've got churches, we've got pools and golf courses. Oh my gosh, I thought this is exactly the best community where my kids are going to be safe and get a great education. But it was that community where the traffickers run rampant. Why? Because we as parents feel that we are safe and we are living in a bubble. I am here to tell you, trafficking is taking place in suburban America because parents and caregivers are not accepting the realization that this can affect their community. In fact, in my beautiful community I moved from, Cinco Ranch, there was a big sting that just took place in December, a massive operation going on 5 minutes from my house, right out of $1 million home that was involved with sex trafficking, with finance crimes, drugs, weapons, right down the street from me. So I want to encourage everyone to plug into your community, plug in, get involved, take your children, take your loved ones, host an event at your church, wherever you gather. Bring in experts to speak because prevention is everything. Had I known what this looked like 5 years ago, you and we would not be having this conversation today. Plug into your community, volunteer, get your kids involved, understand how social media plays into human trafficking. Our kids are on social media more than ever because of COVID. Predators know this. We've seen a 43% increase in human trafficking cases just since April, since COVID, because predators go where our kids play, and that is online. And it looks like many of you are parents, grandparents maybe. Get educated. Get educated. That device that's put in the hands of kids on average for the first time at age 10 and a half is a major access point for predators to start gaining that trust and building relationships with our kids. And trust me when I tell you, they don't hit up your kid and say, oh my gosh, like, listen, I know how you can make a lot of money. I want you to run away tonight. It's nothing like that. It's, hey, how you doing? Oh my gosh, I saw your profile picture. You're cute. Well, girls love to hear that when they're about 15. Oh, well, thank you. You know what? So what do you do? Well, I play basketball. Really? Oh my gosh, like I play basketball too. Wow. Oh, you know what? Gosh, my mom's really upsetting me. She's just on my case all the time. Oh my gosh, your mom, she must be such a whatever, XYZ. Y'all, it starts out so normal. Kids talking, kids sharing what their interests are, what their fears are. And predators are absolutely finessing that, and building that trust is the absolute way that they get access to your kid. And if you think that they cannot get that control, that one day your child's going to walk out the door to go meet a stranger after you've told them their whole life, stranger danger. The power of these people to brainwash your child, if I hadn't lived it, I would not believe it. It's powerful, it's effective, and even the best kids raised in the best homes with the best parenting can become vulnerable. Okay, I want to just, wow, okay, that was fast. Hey, listen, On January 11th, I want to encourage your entire company to wear blue. Okay. That is going to be Human Trafficking Awareness Day. That just stand up and be seen as that you are aware, you are educated, you're going to be a proactive company in your company, in your communities, in your families. Be proactive. I would love to see your company on social media, everybody wearing blue to represent this. We have a lot of work to do, guys. We have a lot of work, but together doing these Zooms, meeting in person, doing our big summit, we're doing a humongous summit in July in Houston. We can seat 6,200 people. We are going to be blowing the top off this issue, guys, this summer. And we are not here to play. We're bringing Jeffrey Epstein survivors in to speak. We're bringing top survivor leaders from around the country to share with our audience how they were exploited on a college campus, in a high school, in all different scenarios, from Jeffrey Epstein to foster care. The summit that we're going to be doing in July, guys, is going to absolutely be a game changer for this industry and for this crime. So please follow us, childproofamerica.org. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can reach out to me, Kelly, at childproofamerica.org with any questions that you may have. If you want to get some suggestions on how to start an education summit in your community, I'm here. Reach out to me anytime, and I will help you get connected, and I will help you learn how to make sure that your community stays safe. Big shout out to Florida. I know your headquarters are in Sarasota. Big shout out. Florida is the first state to mandate trafficking education in every school district across the state of Florida. So Florida, I am so proud of Florida. And I want Texas to follow suit and to require this training inside their schools. So Florida, I am proud of you. We just got a big grant from a foundation in Florida to help launch one of our big crisis support programs. So hats off to you and your organization for bringing this education in today. And as I said, I'm happy to do any kind of follow-up. If you guys have any questions, if you have a kid, a child, somebody that you are concerned about displaying some kind of behaviors, reach out to me. I get calls from parents around the country. We can talk privately. I can give you some guidance, but we need to keep our kids safe. Our kids are not for sale. So stand up and be bold. Do not tolerate people buying children for sex, guys. This is unacceptable. Unacceptable. I'm going to go ahead and just open up the floor here if anybody has any questions or comments for me. Okay, we're done. Wow, it was great. I'm just kidding.
I got a question.
Yes.
First of all, thanks, Kelly, for sharing your story and all the work you're doing. It's great. I wanted to get your opinion on this whole QAnon thing that started, where they've kind of taken the Save the Children hashtag, and it's grown where I'm sure you've heard where, you know, the accusing all the Hollywood elites of doing exactly this. Not to say that some aren't, but I've heard that some of these conspiracy theories have overwhelmed the hotline so much that they've had to create a separate hotline, and it's kind of slowing down possibly some of the real stories. Yeah. Do you have an opinion on that or more knowledge about that?
Well, I do see a lot of the hashtags, and I do see a lot of serious accusations coming out of Hollywood. I do believe that if we really understood the magnitude of the corruption coming out of Hollywood, we'd all be probably never, seeing another movie again. I do believe a lot of that is valid, but of course, a lot of it is politics, and it's so many complexities and layers of accusations. But to answer your question, David, I believe that there's some truth, but I also believe that we've gone through a year of severe stress and anger and animosity and the politics going on, that I think there's a lot of ulterior motives behind some of the accusations that we're seeing. It's just ugly. But I do believe that there's a lot of truth to most of it as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions?
How's your daughter today?
You know, COVID's been rough. And she came home, she made an outcry, she went into a residential treatment program for survivors. It was faith-based. She came out so strong. We met with President Trump and Ivanka, and she was appointed by President Trump to the council on April 24th of this year or last year. And she will serve a 2-year term speaking into legislation for our country. And so she's positioned in such a great place to make a difference, which is so important to her. However, any survivor will endure a lifetime of trauma. And COVID was very difficult for people with trauma and mental health issues. So all of the therapy stopped, all of the supports that she was very engaged in stopped because of COVID. So, you know, we're working closely with her to keep her moving in the right direction. But just because a survivor goes through a residential treatment program, which there are great ones around the country, they will have to sustain that therapy for the rest of their life, because trauma is not a fixable problem, but it's a manageable problem. So thank you for that question. And, you know, it's been highs and lows in 2020, highs with her work on the council, lows with COVID and losing that therapy. So we just, you know, we're working closely with her every day. Any other questions, comments?
Working in the hospitality industry, do you have like a quick informational that maybe we can send out to some of our candidates, our clients, of things that they can watch out for in restaurants and hotels, since oftentimes, you know, they're going through these places?
Yeah. Tanya, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Yes, you are.
I appreciate that question so much. Guys, the hospitality industry is a critical point where the industry comes in contact with victims. And it's so important for hotels and the airline industry, anybody that's working with that population, they need to be trained to be able to recognize that. There are specialized nonprofits that train very specific, the hospitality industry. 80% of victims will be transported on an airplane during their victimization. Hotels are obviously a huge point of exploitation. There is a victim, Natalie Fisher, that was killed several years ago, and there's a big lawsuit against the hotel chain because the trafficking took place and the management looked the other way. And now it's a massive lawsuit. And there are many other lawsuits that are following specifically to the hotels, because, you know, management is told to look the other way. It's very clear trafficking of minors is going on. But in order to generate more revenue, they are telling their employees, keep your mouth shut or you lose your job. And that's not acceptable. If that was your kid in there, you'd want somebody to call the police. So let me just say this. We are hosting a black tie dinner at Post Oak Hotel here in Houston. And I'm asking them right now to get their staff trained. Get your staff trained. Be a part of social responsibility as a hotel that's a 5-diamond hotel, and get every one of your staff trained in this specific hotel that is one of the best in Texas. There was a sting that took place in 2018. There was a trafficker in there generating $30,000 a month selling people, and a security guard alerted law enforcement, and they conducted a sting in this very beautiful hotel. But it was a security guard that was aware and made that call and stopped that exploitation. I believe every hotel needs to have that training and needs to not only have the training to identify, but then what do you do as an action if you do see and suspect trafficking is taking place in the hotel? So Tanya, thank you for that. There are some hotels being proactive and they're getting training, but just like schools, hotels need that same training as well. Any other questions? Okay. Listen, I want to give you our website one more time, because tomorrow you may think of a question, reach out to me, childproofamerica.org. Again, my name is Kelly. We talk to parents all over the country. We are a young organization. We're only 3 years old, but we're growing rapidly. And we have a lot of education opportunities, the one being in Houston this summer that's going to be big. If you're in the area, would love for you to join us. Yes, Kristen?
So I work here in Chicago with Reclaim 13 and Cherish House. Do you guys have any connections with them or other local, if we're not in Texas, where people can, I go to their black tie and donate and, try to stay involved with that organization locally. So I don't know.
What is the name of that, Kristen?
It's called Reclaim 13. It's the Cherish House.
Okay. I'm not familiar with them, Kristen, but that's very good that you are attending their gala and supporting them. We need to do that. So Chicago is obviously is a very big trafficking city as well. So support them, volunteer, time, talent, treasure, serve on a board, donate money, volunteer, go to galas. But I'm not familiar with that organization, okay. Kristen.
Yeah, because they've got, and then I have access to a couple of training programs that you can give to your HR contacts at hotels. Yes. That is a training program for employees at hotels that will train the entire staff. I did it for Carlson. We did it for Hotel Arista. And that's exactly what it is. Just what are the warning signs? And if you do see a warning, see something, what do you do with that information? How do you do it safely? So
yes. And that's excellent. And we at Childproof America, we don't specialize in hospitality training. I definitely have enough knowledge that I can have that conversation. I specialize in parent training. That is our lane. My daughter and I, we travel all over the country and we speak to conferences and, schools, we speak to churches, but we share a perspective of a victim and a parent. So we tell our story simultaneously as I share what I was witnessing as a parent and what she was experiencing as a victim. It's a very powerful combination, and we do a lot of speaking, but with COVID, all of our speaking engagements got put on hold. So we do as much as we can online. Trafficking, training, and prevention I can't say enough how important that is.
Well, thank you for all you do. Even my 18-year-old was approached in college this year. My smart, super bright daughter with a guy who said he'd help her finance her college and all that. And, you don't think it's going to happen, but crazy. Yeah.
But guys,
real quick, on average, what's the age, the typical,
the number one target age for trafficking is 11 to 13 years old.
Holy moly.
That's why Reclaim 13, that's why they named it that.
Excellent. I love that. Okay. 11 to 13, 1 in 5 victims are boys. We do get calls from parents that their sons are being groomed. And what I have found personally is a common denominator. There's some type of learning disability, social disability, autism, Asperger's. Those kiddos are especially vulnerable to predators because they're looking for that social connection, that interaction. It's terrible, it's heartbreaking, but that is what we're seeing in a lot of our victims that are male. So we need to very much keep a close eye on our kids that are experiencing those disabilities, because predators, especially with males, are very much grooming the teenagers. I see a lot of kids being groomed at 17 and then they're gone at 18. Our daughter was groomed during her 17th year. We sent her out of state. We pulled all the big moves, but as soon as she turned 18, she walked right out the door. We were helpless. So 17 years old is what we're seeing a lot of, is that girls and boys are being groomed for the purpose of leaving the home at 18, where parents lose that parental control. I appreciate you guys letting me go over 15 minutes. This is such a critical, 30 minutes. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I want to respect your time. I know this is the first day back for many of us, back to work, and I'm, for one, so excited about this year. I'm so grateful and really looking forward to really moving the needle in this space in 2021. We're ready to go. We are ready to be active. If you want to do anything with Childproof America, let us know. We are here to serve and really eradicate this in our country.
Kelly, thank you so much on behalf of everyone on the Zoom, and really appreciate you taking the time and great information. Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Everybody have a safe and healthy 2021. Reach out anytime we can be of service.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.